But I'm not. Hello. Sorry, guys. Typically, we've got
Mm.
a welcome intro, but I don't think that whoever is running the show today knows how to press the button. So, welcome
Oops.
to Title Talk. Being title sexy, there's a whole like 30-second spiel that we do typically before this. But how you guys all doing? How you doing, Dina?
I'm doing good. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was it was okay.
Yeah, I'm not much for Thanksgiving food, but we had some fun. I haven't been with my family in Thanksgiving for a couple of years, so it was nice. I was in charge of games.
Oh,
Go figure.
tell me about your Thanksgiving games. What do they entail?
Yeah, so well, first of all, I do a gratitude tree. So before everybody like does anything, has anything to eat or drink, I just kinda want them to, like, be in the moment of, like, what are we here for, right? Like, let's be thankful for something, and they write it down, and then I hang it on a tree, and they don't have to say their names, they can if they want to, but it just kinda sets the tone and, like, in where I grew up, it's like we just invite friends, family, randoms, homeless people, you name it, like, it's just kind of, like, usually a bunch
Homeless
of
people,
different
really? That
people.
you've invited a homeless person into your Thanksgiving before?
Yeah, yeah, and
How
I
was
mean,
that?
it's great. I mean, it's a lot of times, holidays are not easy. People go through transitions that are really,
Big time,
really tough,
big time.
and so, I feel so fortunate. Every holiday looks different for every family, but sometimes it's just hard. You're going through a loss of something, or your kids have left, or you're going through a divorce, or it's just you don't have your kids that year, and it's your first year without them. Like, there's just a million different reasons to like not know what to do when it's a holiday, right?
For real. Yeah.
So I mean, we're just all about friends, family, neighbors, whoever wants to come and hang out, and so that's kind of fun. They all kind of, and this year I had pumpkins for everybody, so they wrote what they were thankful for on the little pumpkin. I hung it on the tree, took a picture of the tree, and then when they went to sit down for dinner, they had to read somebody else's gratitudes.
Oh, wow. That's so
So
cool.
yeah, it kind of breaks the ice a little bit, because you don't know necessarily, and they don't have to say like if it was theirs. I had somebody thankful for their garage door this year. That was a unique one. That was my most memorable. Thankful for the garage door, but we didn't get the
I
backstory
only
there.
want to know the back. Yeah, exactly. I want to know why somebody is so thankful for their garage door. Like, did it not open for a year, or was it like,
There has to be a
was it a
story.
manual one where they had to go in and like, open it up themselves? Like, what was the
or
story
or
behind
were they
that?
locked out and like that was the thing that like let them back in, one of those things. But it's fun. And for people that don't know each other, it totally like breaks the ice too.
Yes.
Um and then I also had on their plate, so they had the pumpkin and they had a question about something that they had to answer as kind of a conversation starter. So it was anything from like, tell us three things that make you happy, to talk about somebody in the room that you're grateful for and tell us why. So kind of thought provoking. So it's not just all about the food, it's just all about connection. And sometimes you have to kind of prompt that connection because it's awkward,
Of course. Yeah.
even if it's just your own
Yeah.
family.
100%.
And then this year I played a game called Pando. Have you ever played that? It's not, I know you love pandas, but this is called Pando.
What?
You ever played
Um,
that?
well, no. Tell me about Pando.
So Pando is like it's normally like it's like looks like Cards Against Humanity. It's like little black and white cards, which are super cute. But there's three questions on there, and so the way I played it was you had to be the one that was reading the questions to somebody else that was there, and they had to try to answer them about you. So that was really kind of wild and fun because a lot of people didn't necessarily know each other that well, and it
Yeah.
was things like, "Do your feet stink?" Have you
Wait,
ever you would have
do,
liked this
do
one.
your feet stink, Dina?
No.
Of course not. Of course, I shouldn't have asked that question, but like, I already knew the answer because I've seen the like beautiful
The
shoes you
pretty
wear. They're
shoes.
always open toed and like all they're always. If you guys haven't already realized, Dina's fashion sense. Literally, I think that if there's two women in real estate, in my opinion, who have the most incredible sense of fashion, it'll be Dina Jones and Rahima Blaza. These two
I was gonna
ladies
say
are
Rahima. Rahima is up there with me.
you guys. You
She's
guys
better.
are you
She's very
guys are
stylish.
phenomenal. You guys are phenomenal. You guys legit. You raise the bar on what people should wear to, make sure that they're expressing who they are inside on the outside, that they're on what they're wearing. And I think, I'm starting to understand that a lot about clothing. I've been so monotonous with the way that I dress all the time, my black t-shirt and my blue jeans, and I'm just like this repetitive robot
But
almost all the
uniform
time.
is important though.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
uniform
look,
is important for other reasons, right?
yeah, yeah. I didn't want to spend the time thinking about it, but as life progresses and things change, I mean, hey, I'm in a new situation in my world right now. I'm newly single, and so I'm need to figure out how to dress better.
Whoa!
What? Oh,
Wait, hold
I
on. What
mean,
did you just
a
drop
lot
on
of
Title
people in
Talk?
my world know that I've just recently gone through a separation and situation with my incredible partner. Natalie is a beautiful and just like a wonderful human being, but things life changes. So I got to figure out how to be. I want to like start dressing better. I got to do a little bit more in the world of showing up in cooler clothes. So if you guys start seeing me wearing bejeweled, bedazzled things, then you'll know. He'll like, oh, he's going through a midlife crisis. He's 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 changing his look. So
I'm surprised that Raheem hasn't booked us like a Vegas shopping trip for you.
I'm down. If you guys want to take me out to Vegas and dress me, the two of you, I'm
Hmm.
100% there.
I hope she is watching this because that would be super fun for us.
I would agree. So Dalai Lama says shoes and a nice watch go well together with good t-shirt and blue jeans. It's really interesting. I bought myself a beautiful watch while I've been here in LA. I have always wanted a Rolex Presidential. I don't know if you understand or know what that watch is. It's a solid gold, beautiful timepiece that's very exclusive and rare. And I bought myself a Rolex
It's
Presidential.
also timeless and
Yeah,
iconic.
yeah. I've always wanted one, and I've never really pulled the trigger on them because they're ridiculously expensive, but they appreciate. It's like a house. It actually
Yeah, they're
at
an
the moment
investment.
right now they're appreciating beyond so many investments, and so pretty cool to see that. But Dina, I want to jump into something that I think has happened with the Fidelity world in the last week, and I
Yeah, if
want to I
anybody
want to start
curious about that,
I
I'm
want to start
wondering if
by saying
anybody in the
this.
chat
Yeah,
knows
if you
anything
guys
about what's going on with Fidelity right now.
you guys have a clue what's going on with Fidelity? I mean, I close a lot of deals, and so because all of my transactions go through Fidelity Title, I was intimately aware of what was happening. But I do want to say this, Dina, having a company like Fidelity in your corner when things go wrong, when things get hard, is so important because
Mm,
when title companies don't have good security, when they don't have good people in the background making sure that things are going well and that they know how to mitigate loss and know how to mitigate breaches and things of that nature, uh, it's really important. And guys, I can't stress this enough. If you guys are in the business right now and you're dealing with a janky title company, a small title company, one that may not be well capitalized or may not have the resources to be highly secure, really think about the security and the safety of yourself, your sellers, your buyers, their money. All of the things are so important to understand because just now because we've got a lot of money sitting at a title company and moving around, and what happens if a security breach happens and you end up in a situation or a predicament. So if you could, would you please enlighten the community right now that's watching to explain what happened, how you guys really stepped up? And when I say step up and like figure it out, my goodness, I am shocked. I am shocked at the speed at the efficiency and at the level of service that we were able to have in our relationship with you as you guys were navigating a pretty tough situation. So, if you don't mind, would you mind
Yeah,
explaining what
of course
happened
not.
and how we kind of got through it?
Well, it totally makes me happy, that you guys felt communicated to, and that you were getting answers in real time, because what we were going through, it was really nerve-wracking for anybody that's, like, not on the inside. So, as a company, internally, our operation, we operate very transparently. So I feel very, very fortunate that our president was communicating on a very, 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 very regular basis, with us about what was going on as things were happening. But essentially, we chose to pull the plug on anything that we thought could have been a risk for the consumer. And started an investigation, right?
Yep.
And started to figure out what security measures had to be taken in order to make sure that everybody's safe in the process. And there's not a lot of companies that have the ability to like pull the plug. um, and we did that. It was a choice. We
What does pulling the
never.
plug mean? Can you explain kind of what that
Yeah.
means?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of times you'll hear about like, oh, there's a breach to this system, and like
So,
these
like,
people
what was
like
the breach?
got
Because
in.
let's
We
first talk
don't,
about
yeah,
the breach.
that's not, we don't, that's still under investigation. So there's a
Okay,
lot of things we don't know yet.
got it.
But I'll tell you, like, I've personally experienced this. I've had identity theft on myself 3 times.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, personally, I just went through this MGM thing that happened a couple of months ago. And that is still ongoing, where literally people are going to check into their hotel and they can't, and people have accessed their credit card information and their other information. And like, I finally got an email from them saying, "Oh, we're going to pay for credit monitoring for you for a year because we've given away your tax information, your credit card information, your passwords. It's all been compromised." I'm like, "What?"
My goodness.
So these guys got into their system so far that they access things that, really hurt me as a consumer. Well, what Fidelity did is when they found out that there was something that was potentially compromising something within our system, they pulled the plug and said, we're going to risk impacting operations temporarily because the better thing to do, and we're not going to risk somebody being in control of our systems, right? So that's essentially what they did. So now it's in the situation where law enforcement's involved, forensic folks are involved, a bunch of attorneys are involved. um, but at the time, as things were happening, which was about a week ago, you know, it was just we didn't know. And so our company was really, really good at communicating with us so we could communicate what we knew when we had closings happening. We're in a position where it's the end of the fiscal year for some of our large accounts. That's a big deal. It's the end of the month
So
today.
also, like, let's just take for instance somebody who's in foreclosure, right? And like something's got to close on a specific day in order to save them, right? So how does a situation like that like get dealt with when there's a breach and title can't. So for just so you guys are aware, when she says she pulls the plug when they pulled the plug and stop things, that means that like transactions can't happen because they got to make sure that they're maintaining security. They need to make sure that funds aren't going to get siphoned off into some Chinese or Russian or whatever, whoever the heck is doing its account, right? And so they have to secure and maintain the privacy, the information, and the overall just information that's on their databases. And so that's very, very. I mean that's going to stop things. It's going to
Well,
stop
and
things.
it started with like us, like we didn't have access to email. That's what it started with. Okay.
Okay.
So today was like the first day I've had active emails.
My God,
in a
how
week.
many emails were you behind, by the way?
I'm still behind. I am still behind. Anybody that's
Wow.
watching this, I haven't responded to. I apologize, but most of you know to call me or text me if it's an urgent situation, and I will absolutely respond as I have through this process to the best of my
I gotta
ability.
say though, Dina, like I'm being 100% honest here. Having access to somebody like you when we needed answers and we needed to like move things along, and like I sent a text to Dina with my CEO and my vice president, and I'm like, hey, can you help us understand? And like it was like that. Dina was there, responsive, answering questions, and it wasn't more than 24 hours where everything had been resolved and we were back in business. And through the entire process, I had ample communication, ample understanding of what was going on. Like, I know that if I had been with a small title company that doesn't know how to pivot, move, and understand how to like deal with situations like this, I would have been and our company and our sellers and our buyers would have been in a lot of trouble. But because
Mhm.
you guys are so well capitalized, because you guys are so big, because you guys are so professional, we were able to, and I know that must have cost Fidelity millions of
We
dollars.
won't even know like the final thing about like what this costs as far as all of that goes, but I know for
Yeah.
sure Fidelity is like they're gonna make everything right. Like they just that's the kind of class act company that they are, and
Yep.
they would forego the disruption of business to protect the consumer and our customers and our valued clients, and they do the right thing in the process. And so it starts with like email shutdown. Okay, well, once they figure out we can have email again, which is awesome, by the way, when we got word that we were going to have email again, it's a slow roll, right? So what you're talking about is you're moving 30 something thousand people back online. So what you and your team did, which was super smart, and I had a lot of other folks do the same thing, is they sent me a text, they called me, and they told me, here's my priority files. Here
Yep.
is the ones we need escalated so that once we can go back in, like we have the ability operationally not only to prioritize users coming back online based on that kind of communication, but
Sure.
also files getting worked
Right, because
because of
certain ones are like
communication.
down the line. We don't need to work this file right now. It's not going to close for a couple of weeks. There may be some people that are like I had mentioned earlier, they're in foreclosure, and so we've got to get this file like escalated so that there's not a loss of a home or a loss of an opportunity for somebody here. And so, of course, that's super important.
It's so important, and, like, protecting everybody's money is super important, and,
Of
like, that
course.
was so we definitely we got notification that, none of that stuff was accessed. We shut everything down. We pulled the plug. Nothing happened. So they did not get into affecting anything when it came to any of that stuff, which is fantastic, and I feel super grateful. I'd absolutely rather not have email for a couple of days than risk having somebody's, financial well-being not secure, right? So that is super interesting. It's funny. I We just got a Dalai Lama says, and back to fax we go. Well, so here's the deal. All faxes come to us electronically. So we couldn't actually open them.
Oh,
And you can't really send them without like an electronic situation happening,
my
right?
goodness.
So what I mean, I'll tell you, our company, I'm so proud. I work for such an amazing operation, and I love, Diane. I mean, she's an amazing president and operator. But we had our sales team taking files to the county recorder the other day by hand
I
because
heard that.
we had
I heard
to
you
get
guys had
them
people
recorded that day,
you had people
walking
walking.
in to the recorder's office because we couldn't electronically record. But they had to get recorded. So, I mean, we did everything we could do operationally, and there was such good communication. I mean, I think my biggest advice, if you guys are running any scale of business, have all that stuff figured out, right? Have communication dialed in so that if things go wonky for whatever reason, you have a way to disseminate information in real time,
Right.
in a really, really, really transparent manner with all hands on deck. I mean, our folks have been at their offices till midnight, back at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. the next day, like doing every single thing they can, and everybody is willing to do their part because we know that that's what we can control, right? We know we can be part of the solution. We can't fix what these horrible people are trying to do by like attacking the consumer. We can't, and that's essentially why they go after us, right? And I think it's so funny. Like, why don't you go after the little guy? Well, number one, there's less money. Number two, there's a whole lot less safeguards in place for some of
Right.
the smaller companies. But
Yep.
what I also thought was interesting, when things like this happen, we had some really great people in the industry reach out to us and offer help. Right. When I talked to Tori from your team, I mean, I called and said, hey, I was going to come over. Me and Jody were going to go to your office when she was in town the other day. And we just want to say thank you. It's Thanksgiving week. And I'm like, we are going through this situation. So we're not going to be able to be there in person. I'm just so sorry. And she's like, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? I'm like, we're no, we just be patient with us, be understanding. But then there was other title companies that actually reached out to us and did the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah, other title companies, some of them were very
Collaboration over
gracious.
competition. It's not
Mhm.
necessary for us to ever look at anybody that we are in, business with, or maybe have a competitive situation with, and ever look at them or any situation that might be harming them or creating adversarial situations, and see that as an opportunity to hurt or to create, issues. The right people, the right companies, the people with the good heart that have love and connectivity, and the seller and the buyer and all the people's best interests at heart, they step up to the plate and they
Yep.
say, "Hey, we are here to help. How can we help you?"
Which just like really gave a piece to our internal employees too because of the relationships, right? Like we have people at other title companies calling, texting, saying, "How can we help? What do you need?" That's the right thing to do, right? Then there was some other ones that looked at this as an opportunity where they thought that this was their chance to get new business.
I got to be honest with you. I did receive a few messages.
I'm sure you did
I
cuz
did receive a few messages from
so did
from
I.
from competitive. Wow.
Yeah.
From like competitors that said, "Hey, we know that you have a bulk of your business at Fidelity Title, and you saw that there was a breach, and here's an opportunity for you to come and work with us. We are da 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 da." And my response was, the fact that you reached out to me when they are in a bind shows me your character.
Mhm.
It shows me your character. It shows me exactly the kind of person that and the kind of company that you represent. You represent opportunists.
Yep.
You are an opportunist. And I'm not interested in working with opportunists. I'm interested in working with people who are of a different energy, of a different caliber of character.
Yeah,
Who
it's like
look at
rise up,
Yes.
rise, the
And
tide
you know what?
rises.
Rising tides lift all ships.
Mhm.
And we don't have ever looking at a situation like this as an opportunity to go out and create new business from that. And it's so distasteful, Dina. It's so
It's
distasteful.
disgusting to
It
me.
is. It's truly disgusting.
And some of the ones that, because I got some of them personally too, because I've been in the business a long time, and I'm like, okay, first of all, this person's not in my contacts. I've never talked to them. I have no idea who they are. They think I'm a licensed agent. They're telling me, you know, who to send my escrows to because Fidelity owns lots of companies and they're thinking this is an opportunity. Well, first of all, you're sending a mass text like that, you're violating a whole bunch of rules because you didn't have permission to send me a mass text in the first place.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
You did,
So
yeah.
thanks for violating law number one in your outreach to me in the first place to try to garner new business or garner because I'll be honest with you, Dina, you are in the business of title and escrow, and in your specific role, you are the gem, right?
Thank
Like you
you.
are the gem. You're the person that if I had a title company, if I owned my own, yes, if I have one, I got one here for you.
Oh, that's so cute.
If I owned a title company, I would absolutely want Adina Jones on my team. I'd want, because I know who you are. I know your hustle. You and I have known each other for a decade.
Hmm.
A decade.
And I care, you
You,
know.
sweetheart, you not only care, you're way beyond caring. It's way beyond caring. This is who you are. It's your identity. It's your purpose. You truly live and breathe the service of helping people get their business and their situations figured out with respect to title and escrow. It's what you are. Look, don't ever think that your identity needs to be like this thing where it's like, I am a motivational speaker that you know what? Sometimes like, for me, my identity is I'm a wholesaler. I'm a
The
wholesaler.
king. The
Well,
king.
but I
The
started
genie.
as I started
Yeah.
as just I started as a wholesaler, and I rose to level of king wholesaler. Okay, cool. Amazing, beautiful. But I started as that, and my identity has never shifted. It's never changed. You have always been the most incredible person in marketing and sales at Fidelity Title, and you have always, as you've risen through the ranks of what you've done, you've always just been one of the most incredible humans and business people that have ever been able to do business with him. And I got to tell you this, like sending that text message between you, my vice president, and my CEO, and having the level of service and response that we were able to attain. We were on a partners call yesterday, and my team said to me, Jamil, thank you. Thank you for developing
Mm.
this relationship with Fidelity Title. Thank you for developing this relationship with Dina Jones. Thank you for having this company in your back pocket, because had it not been for Fidelity and their strength, their resources, and their resolve to get things done, if this had been another title company, if we had been at the title company that we were prior to our business dealings together, we would have lost millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. And that's scary.
That's very
Guys,
scary.
I'm telling you, if you are not dealing with Fidelity Title right now, you are making a massive mistake. You are making a massive mistake because you're not thinking about the risks. You're not thinking about the vulnerabilities that exist out there. And you have to be aligned with a company that when something wrong, I'm gonna tell a story. Okay, I'm gonna rewind us all back to about 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, I was in a deal with my old partner, and Fidelity Title was the company that was handling our title and escrow on that. Now, wire fraud has been something that's been around for a while, and email hacking has been around for a while, but at this time it was brand new. Like what they were doing with title companies was brand new. Somebody
It was
had come
probably
in,
just faking a signature block back then.
yeah, and like what these guys were doing is they were spoofing the email address to make it look as though email correspondence was coming from our title and escrow officer, and making us feel as though the correspondence was legitimate and that the documents that they were sending were appropriate and the real ones. And imagine this. Imagine you're in a deal and you get emailed from your title and escrow company, and they say, send the wire to this account. Well, it happened to us. It happened to us in a situation. Fidelity Title was our title in escrow, and one of our buyers wired over, I don't know, I think it was like $200,000, and it went to a hacker. Went to a hacker. Do you guys want to understand what Fidelity did? Not only did they first and foremost make all of it right, they helped us through the situation top to bottom. Top to bottom. Nobody lost any money. Everybody walked out of that looking at us, looking at each other like, wow, what a blessing. What a blessing it was to work with Fidelity. What an incredible company. Like, they'll never hang you out to dry. They will never hang you out to dry. They will always be there. They will always step up to the plate, take care of you, and make sure that your file, your transaction, your people are 1000% protected. And Dina, I gotta say this to you. You guys proved who you were a decade ago to me, and this week you proved again just why I do business with Fidelity Title. So I gotta thank you. And I wanted to do it publicly. I wanted to. I know Dina and I were talking prior to getting on here, but I really needed an opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for working for a company that has so much integrity. Thank you for being just so solid, because I know that my sellers, my buyers, my organization is in incredible hands. Guys, don't choose janky title
That
companies.
makes my
Please,
heart happy.
please don't choose.
Well,
Don't.
you know what's so funny? Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. But you know, it's so easy. I couldn't communicate with you like I was. And your the folks that were on our text, I actually have never physically met them yet. And I wouldn't have even had the opportunity to know that like they were nervous about some things if they weren't communicating, right?
Right.
And so the fact that like you reached out and you looped in the people that had the concern and like we were able to have dialogue, that's amazing. But I also work for a company that's like not making me feel like I don't have the ammunition to communicate with you in a proper way in real time about what I know, right? Like, here's the deal, guys. Your EO has access to email officially. You should be getting emails from her if you haven't already. Here's the process and here's the progress. Because just knowing that you have something to go back and tell your folks matters. And I don't work for a company that's telling me I'm not allowed to share that with you. And there's a lot of companies out there, they don't communicate. They don't even tell the people on the front lines like what's going on. So when those questions come in, they don't know how to answer them, which is mind blowing to me.
Big time.
I've worked for companies like that before,
Yeah.
not in this industries, but for any of you guys that are building companies out there, culture is everything, and that starts from the top down with communication and transparency. And when things, get tough, the tough get in there together, right? With the right people on the bus. And I think that's why I do what I do every day. I'm surrounded by great people.
Well, again, I have nothing but respect and admiration for Fidelity, for what you guys were able to accomplish, what you guys were able to, at the speed at which you guys were able to accomplish the fix. I'm very grateful. Very grateful for our relationship. I'm very grateful for what we've been able to accomplish, and to many, many, many more years, Dina.
And closing many more deals, as it's the last day of the month. That's why we don't have an escrow officer on here today, guys, because they are a little inundated.
You think?
It was so funny. Jody actually sent me an email a couple hours ago. I'm like, "Hey, so and so went dark on me today. Like, is everything cool?" She goes, "It's the last day of the month," and it was somebody like it was at another company, and I was like, "What's kind of weird? They went dark on me." She's like, "It's the last day of the month, Dina. Reminder." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right."
It's hell day for us. So I kind of want to pivot from this conversation since
Yeah.
we've addressed it, and we can leave it there. What are you seeing in the market right now? Because I'm seeing all kinds of interesting things, and I'm wondering what you guys on the title and escrow side are seeing right now with respect to, some, are we seeing a pivot into more of a buyer's market? Are we seeing uh, this just regionally? Like, what are you guys experiencing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you and I are both pretty good at looking at like our hyper local market, right? And getting as granular as we can on the little pockets, which are our niches, right? So your buy box, where you're buying in each market and what makes sense so you can pivot your marketing. But you're also looking at a large scale nationwide approach at just the market as a whole, because that is super important. And what we're seeing right now is people that are still on the fence about rates and trying to have conversations about the mortgage interest rates, because that, people's buying decisions, they're not buying the purchase price unless they're paying cash, really. And even then, it's still going to have something to do with their return on their investment as far as, their yield and their spread. But, people are still nervous about what's going to happen with the rates. So they're a teeny bit on the fence about that. So we're coming to the point where we're having a lot of conversations about, if they're in a conversation with a motivated seller who has a reason to move, how do they get them off the fence? Right. And then if they can get them off the fence, how do they market that property so that the consumer picks that house over the neighbor? Because I
Right.
don't think we've fully transitioned yet from a buyer's market to a seller's market personally. I think that we
Or
have a lot of fence sitters,
from sellers
from
to
a
buyers.
sellers to a buyers. I
Yeah,
think we're still slightly in the middle.
yep.
We've got prices that are like their house is priced right for today, but comps could change tomorrow. But it's not a bad price for the house. So they're trying to figure out, how do I market this home in a way that's going to attract the buyer that can afford it, that needs to move, that loves my house. And so we're having a lot of conversations about, sellers, instead of lowering the price, giving incentives, right?
Yep.
When it comes
Concessions.
to.
So let's talk about those incentives and those concessions. Like, what are some of the things that you think that um, we can start thinking about as opportunities for us to push an escrow through the process?
Yeah, so I mean, if it's a traditional listing, and it's on the market, then it's about payment.
Right.
It's
It's about
about
what is it going to cost? Like, can
it's
we buy
about
down
what's
the
it
rate?
gonna cost? Can we
Yeah.
buy down the rate?
If you guys don't understand what we're talking about right now, what you can actually do to incentivize a buyer to buy your flip or to buy something that maybe you've got on the traditional retail market is you can actually give a concession that buys a rate down for a number of years. Now, think about this. We're about to walk into an election in 2024.
That's exactly why this is sexy. Let's
It is
talk about
sexy.
title talk being sexy. This is sexy.
Yeah, it's sexy. It's sexy, and it really is because we're walking into an election at 2024. I think that America in general right now is dissatisfied with what's going on in the economy, and so not I'm not predicting or thinking that there's going to be any type of like revolutionary change that occurs, but I do believe that every time that we walk into an election cycle, we start to see administrations start to really want to fire the economy up. Why does they want to do that? So for anyone that look, I'm not a fan of either. I'll just be honest with you. I'm not. I don't like donkeys or elephants. So it's not. I have no dog in the fight. But what I can tell you, okay, is that when people want votes, they put pressure on the regulatory bodies that may have interest in being or may have or that have the ability to affect rates. Now, knowing that when we walk into election cycles, we start to see rates go down. We start to see
Traditionally, I
traditionally
mean, it almost
they
always happens.
almost always because they want
So
to
if
start.
you're gonna be playing the stock market, right, and
Yep.
you're hedging your bet, you're putting all your money on
You
this
should
side,
you should
rates
bet
aren't going up.
put your money in the S&P right now because it will go up when rates go down. It's there. That's like the safest bet. It's your safest bet. And so we know rates will come down. We know rates will come down. And we also have heard that mortgage rates right now and the banks have baked in profit far beyond what they believe is necessary to mitigate what's going on with the Fed. And so I don't believe the Fed's going to do another rate hike. I don't believe they're going to do another rate
I
hike.
agree with you. If
I
we
think
have to
that
make a
they're
prediction, I mean,
100%.
nobody, I don't think they're watching us, but I
nope.
think you're right.
I think that they're going to just stay steady right now where they are. And when they stay steady with where they are, where stocks going to go up? What's going to where are mortgage rates going to go? Big time down. Big time down. Right now, my prediction is that we get to 6.5. I truly believe that we're going to get to 6.5. I think by mid 2024 we will be at 6.5. Mark my words, guys. Let's
Okay, you heard it here
you heard
first.
it here. It's a 4:44 p.m. PST, Thursday, November 30th. Jamil says rates will get to 6.5 by mid 2024. Somebody put that in the chat. Somebody screenshot it and then remind me midway through the year whether I was clairvoyant or whether I was clairvoyance.
Okay, Jamil said rates 6.5.
Yep.
By June?
Yes.
2024.
Yes, sir.
Schedule a text to send to Jamil on that day. That is great.
Let's see what happens. I'm going to take a picture of this right now. Let me take a picture of this on the screen right now because I want everybody to say that Jamil is.
All right. I'm just for fun. I'll go 6.45.
Look, if we're anywhere near mid sixes, I win. I think,
Yeah, no, that's a win. That's absolutely a win. Absolutely a win. Yeah. And so traditionally, when there's an election year, rates go down, right? Agreed, 100%. So what's sexy today in a strategy for a buyer is they're buying a payment. It's not a forever payment, but it's a temporary payment. So what we're talking about is you have to qualify for the payment at this rate, which is not actually the issue. Most people that are looking at a home at a certain price point that makes sense for their family, it's not that they can't qualify for that home. It's they don't want to pay that payment because we know these rates are higher than what we've seen. So it's advertising what's a buy down of sorts, right?
Correct.
And depending on your your take on the market, your take on when you think interest rates are going to go down, whatever, as a buyer, it's either, a 3-1, a 2-1, or just a 1-1 buy down. But you can advertise that you are going to pay up to a certain amount for whoever's purchasing your home to buy down the rate in any way they choose. You're giving them the freedom of choice, and you're teaching them the payment thing versus the purchase price.
Yeah, they say that, of course, affordability is interesting, right? And I was looking at this actually extensively over the last few days because when you look at, let's just look, for instance, a house that's $350,000, okay, and a house that's $350,000, and you've got a 3% mortgage on it. Okay, it's going to typically be around $3,000, would you say?
Well, you said what was the purchase price?
$300,000.
No. I
We're,
think
we're,
it'd
we're,
be more
we're-
like, yeah. So, are we talking like a 7% interest rate at
no, no, no,
350?
no, no, no. I apologize. I'm talking about uh, like traditional interest rates.
Okay.
So okay, let's work this through. You got a mortgage calculator on you right now?
Of course I do.
Okay,
I have my Fidelity Agent
yeah.
app.
So
Hold,
let's look
please.
at this. Let's look at this because I'm terrible at math. Let's get this figured out. Okay, if you got a $350,000 house and you're at 6.5%, what's your payment going to be?
I mean, off the top of my head, I'm gonna do the exact. There's too many decimals on this one. Well, with PITI or just straight?
Just straight.
2,300.
Okay, $2,300. Okay, so what if it's at 4%?
1671. We
Okay,
used to be able to factor in when rates were like regular-ish, in the 5.5 to 6-ish. You could factor in $7 for every, $1,000 you're financing. Today, because things are higher, you got to figure different. But yeah, so that lowers it
here's where I think
like $500.
$500 a month. Here's where I
Yeah.
think what's important for us to understand. Okay, I don't think wages are going to increase like that. I
Nope.
truly don't, and I don't
Not
think
on today's job market.
inflation's not going to help us like lower our cost of living. It's not going to happen. And I'm telling you guys, all of those influencers out there right now that are telling you that there's going to be a market crash, there's just not nearly enough people willing to give away that rate. They're not willing to give away that. Did you guys just see that difference that I just had Dina give us? That's $500 difference. People will never leave that.
No.
They will not give that up. And so inventory is going to stay tight.
In
Inventory
the
is gonna stay
places
tight.
people want to live. Like, let me just clarify that. In the places people want to live.
Yes. In hot, high appreciation, high demand markets, we're not going to see adjustments in that regard. Okay. So
I don't
now
think so either.
thinking about it, okay, how do we pivot? What do we do?
Yep.
How do we continue to make money? How do we continue to do business? You guys, you have to be working with Fidelity Title because first and foremost, they understand creative finance. They understand creative finance to a high degree, and many of their escrow officers can help you. They can help you do subject twos in the correct situations with the correct type of loans. They can help you get those done. Wraps, they can help you get those done. But let's now talk about mortgage paydown. Do you have any amortization tables handy, or are you able to give me that kind of detail?
Perhaps.
Here's what I want to understand. Okay, if I've got a mortgage that's 350 grand at 7% and a mortgage that's 350 grand at 4%, how much in interest do I pay at 7, and how much interest do I pay at 3.5?
Do you think people are looking? Because I love where you're going with this, but do you think that people are paying that deep of attention to the money they're leaving on the table right now? I mean,
They should
as a
be.
rule of thumb, but are they?
I don't think the
I think
retail
that's a
buyer is, but
question.
I don't think the retail buyer is, but I do believe that the people who do creative finance deals are.
Okay.
Right. And so
So, like,
what I'm
our
trying to
viewers.
understand, yeah, here's what I'm trying to understand, right? Is that if I buy a subject to, for instance, right now I have a subject to right now that I'm looking at. It's got a 3% mortgage. It's here in Arizona, and it's a $350,000 purchase. And the ARV on that is $350,000. It needs a little bit of work. They're behind a little bit on their mortgage. And so I'm going to have to come into the property with 40K down. Okay. Now, at 40K down, I get to take over this mortgage. And I now
How many
get
years? How many years?
a 30-year term.
Okay.
I get to take this over at full retail value. Full retail value. Okay, I'm gonna buy this at 350. It's worth 350. Okay.
Okay.
How much money and interest am I saving between 3% and 7%?
So at your 3%, you're at 181,221. Okay.
Okay.
181,000.
$181,000 in interest
Yep.
at what percent?
At 3%.
Okay, what am I paying in interest at 8% or 7%?
7%, you're at 488.
Okay, guys, listen to what we just said. Listen to what we just said. This is mind blowing. This right here is
that's your nest.
This is the jam. You have to understand this. Tell me one more time. What are the numbers?
Yeah, so it was $488,281.14 at 7% versus
One more time. Give me that number. Just the round number. 488,000.
488 versus 181.
Versus 181. Okay. So I'm going to pay an additional $307,000 for this house. So let's be honest, okay? For this 350 house, I'm going to pay $657,000 for it once the mortgage is done.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's see what I'm going to pay on the other side. Okay, so $350,000. How much was I going to pay in interest in the other?
181 versus 488.
I'm paying $431,000 for it. So do you guys see how much? Even if I overpay for the creative financing deal, I'm going to save like
so much
money, $100,000 by being able to get myself into that situation that's got a lower rate. You guys have to understand this. You got to understand the math. We are being hoodwinked by
that's humongous.
It's humongous. And especially if you're a buy and hold investor and we're talking about mortgage pay down and we're talking about trying to build generational wealth. I've got to pay an additional $300,000 at that higher rate. It doesn't matter what I pay for the house. It really doesn't matter what I pay for the house.
Well, the same way that buyer today is looking at the payment today, you guys should be looking at that when you're in a creative finance deal.
And this is another reason why working with Fidelity Title, my friends, is so important, because at the end of the day, when you have exactly, Dalai Lama, it's the cost of opportunity. What are you going to be able to do with all that money? What are you going to be?
That's your next deal that you can pay cash for.
Also, like if you're doing this business as an opportunity for you to build generational wealth, to be able to say, I'm going to leave things to my kids, I'm going to do things that are going to be able to, propagate and pay for my great grandchildren's wedding.
Which is the reason everybody does this, right? Like everybody has their why. Why they do it.
What's your why, Dina? Can you share?
I want to leave a legacy that's way bigger than anything I could ever create on my own by just being part of a great community and giving back. That's like generational things, like want to make the world better exponentially.
I love you. When I was young, there was a movie that I watched. It was the Bruce Lee story. And there was a quote at the end of the movie that Bruce Lee had said. He said, "The key to immortality is living a life worth remembering."
I want to add to that. It's living a life worth somebody else remembers.
That's what it is, worth somebody remembering, right? Like, so if you want to be,
I don't care about me remembering this stuff. Yeah. I want to say I made an impact that changed the trajectory for other people.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
And this, my friends, is what we're doing in real estate. This is what we're doing when we're buying these homes and building this rental portfolio and building this opportunity for us to continue to grow and to continue to scale and to continue to keep providing opportunities for our children in the future. We have to remember that. We've got to
Yeah.
remember that. And like, find your why, guys. Figure it
Yeah.
out. But at the end of the day, we always know that real estate is what's got us here.
hmm It's the catalyst, right? I mean, it's the vehicle, but it's not. It's about all the places you can go in that vehicle. It's
I
all the
mean,
places you can
1000%.
see. It's all about all the things you can do. There's been so many good takeaways on this episode. I love the find your why, guys. If you are not already in a place where you know your why, I would highly suggest obviously watching Jameel, because you guys are going to dive into some of that stuff. I love Simon Sinek, Know Your Why. That's a great book.
Yep.
Uh, another great takeaway I think from today is, besides obviously having Fidelity in your back pocket, is having a great lender in who can help you in these situations. If you guys are going into marketing a property, even if it's not listed on the traditional market, I go back to my new home sales day where I remember putting whiteboards in the kitchen saying your payment on this home can be as
Wow.
low as. It's the same thing with a 2-1 buy down. The only way you're going to get those numbers to the specific degree to be able to market today is have great lenders in your pocket, right? So if you need resources for those, reach out to us. We are here to
Exactly.
help.
So Fidelity Title will help you find opportunities with working with good lenders. Especially remember this: when you get an introduction from Fidelity Title, that lending institution is going to be so much more accessible, ready, and available for you to do deals. And so always leverage your title company. I've talked about it in the past how I've made over $250,000 in the last year working with Fidelity Title.
Well, that's before we did the math.
I know, and it was even more than that. It was even more than a quarter million. Like, and so I gotta say, like from the bottom of my heart, thank you for
Oh, thank you.
so many years of incredible service that we've been able to attain from Fidelity Title. Thank you for our relationship. I love you so much,
I
sis.
think the best is just yet to come.
It really is. It really
Yeah.
is. Family, this has been a really incredible title talk. Of course, when Dina and I are together
It's
in,
way more fun.
it's way more fun. There's nothing more than I enjoy than being able to sit beside my sister and be able to communicate and talk to all of you. But I do want to remind you all of this. At the end of the day, your relationships matter. The
Yes.
people that you connect to are important. Dina and I have known each other for a decade. And had I not had this relationship with her, when things went sour or when things got hard, I wouldn't have had somebody to reach out to. I wouldn't have had somebody to figure out how we could get past or get over the situation and like really make it work. Know that it's important for you to create a long lasting relationship with your title company. And at the end of the day, there is no company like Fidelity. So, Dina, thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for saving so many deals. Thank you for being who you guys are. Thank you for always showing up. You're the shit. I love you.
Guys, we have one more title talk before the end of the year. Can you
My
realize that?
goodness.
I think, is there one more or is there two more? I can't remember. Yvette sent me the dates, but
Let's say two. Let's say two.
okay,
But
let's say there's two, but I want to know what people want to hear before we end this year strong.
well, here's what I think. I think that between now and the end of the year, we really need to get focused on where we plan to go. So, if you don't
Mhm.
have a good, vivid picture of what you're trying to accomplish at the end of 2024, start visualizing it. Start thinking about it. Start understanding and really diving into the relationships that you're going to need in order to get there. Because I'll tell you this, it's always who, not how.
Mm, always.
It's always who, not how.
Always. And that, for me, is there. But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. If you guys have never done like vision board mapping, like what you put on paper will come true. So be careful what you wish for. And also be very specific and very direct and very intentional in your focus. If that's something you guys want us to do on Title Talk, we could totally do that. We could vision board in the kitchen.
We should do a vision board episode together.
Would that be so fun?
Oh, good. Let's do it. Let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it. That'd be so it's perfect timing too. Like
Yeah.
that's
Let's talk
so
about what we want
fun.
to do for let's do it. Next episode, vision board episode
Okay.
for the end of the year. Tina, I love you so much.
I
Thank
love
you.
you too. Safe travels. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thank you.
thank you for everything. If you have anything that we can help you with, we want to be a resource. Just email titletalk@fnf.com to reach me. And you know how to find Jamil on all his socials.
Later, guys.